This is Football Thoughts.
Chelsea 3, Barcelona nil. Ronaldo Araujo is an idiot. Honestly, he's a fool, people. This man just loves getting red cards against big teams for no freaking reason. And he's one of the reasons why Barcelona have just allowed themselves to just be in the deficit that they are in the Champions League, losing their last three games in the Champions League because their defense is just horrendous. When there's no Rafinha, there is no party, people. Let me tell you this. There's only so much that Lamine Yamal can do against a team like Chelsea. But when you got Cucurella that you have to deal with and you can't pass the Cucurella test, man, it's tough. It's tough, bruv. It really is. Fofana, for Chelsea was really good in the defense. I believe he's really improving in these Champions League games. It's just too bad that it can't correlate in the league, you know. Enzo Maresca's game plan was just to have Reece James and Caicedo control the whole game essentially. He's got that possession-based attacking format, but with the attack of Neto, Garnacho, and Esteval, Esteval only being the most technical player in the team. Garnacho was trash. Neto was dust also. But that front three was, how should I say, aggressive enough and direct enough to cause that Barcelona defense trouble and problems. Because let's be honest, people, Kunda and Ronald just ain't it. It just ain't it, man. And that's the reality, man. That's the reason why Barcelona, I don't think they'll retain the La Liga or even have a chance of going anywhere near as further as they did last season, the Champions League. You know what I'm saying? John Terry, we saw this racist fella in the stands real quick, Chelsea legend and all and shit like that. But overall, Estoval really impressed me, man. He does a lot, but not really too much, if you know what I mean. He'll show you his step overs, he'll show you his highlight reels, but you can tell he's 18 years old with his decision making, man. This guy could have gotten at least two assists and a goal, maybe two more goals if he had like proper football IQ. His technical ability is what's keeping him at a very high rate of in terms of the squad quality in the Chelsea team. But I don't believe it's enough to be winning big titles in clutch moments because of his decision making. I don't think he's all that the media and the Chelsea fans have rated him to be. He's very talented, don't get me wrong, very exceptional, but there's still too much flaws in his game for me to consider him a world class individual player in this current age of modern football. If we're gonna consider Esteval modern world class in this modern day game, then that just shows you the level of talent in this game. I still think Yamal is better than Esteval, even though he had a difficult game because he was isolated. All those who know football know that when your team is just not in flow and not in sync, and you're an attacker, you're not going to get the ball. We know the ball starts from the midfield and the defense. And when the team is not correlating in the system, especially in an away game, especially when you have only a midfielder like De Jong creating, Furman, I would say he's just a cam, not necessarily a CM, you're going to struggle if you're Lamine Yamal receiving the ball. He barely got the ball, he barely even tried to, you know, create chances for Barcelona because of how barely he had the ball. So, like, let's not blame Lamar for this. Let's just blame Barcelona's horrible defense and the red card. Because overall Chelsea, as good as they are in Europe and their form in the league, we do not see how should I say a very consistent base, especially with how they play against these top five European teams. in the league, it seems like a lot of small teams like Sunderland, you know, have Chelsea's number. You know, the fact that they don't get enough points for this weird title race in the season is just tells shows you how confusing Chelsea are of a football club. You know, don't get me wrong, this win is impressive, but you know, the games where Chelsea have dropped points in the league, Brentford 2-2, you know, games like Sunderland, these are games that they should be winning. And I believe ultimately later down the line this season, Chelsea will fumble because of the amount of games they have played this season. Think about it, Club World Cup, Premier League games, and now Champions League games, and also Cup games. It's gonna make their players steam out and cause a lot of injuries. So let's just hope that this squad stays injury free so that they have the Champions League campaign that they dream of this season after this win. You know, because we know the Chelsea fans, they get very hyped after a big win, and then they start saying we're gonna win the treble and we're gonna win all sorts of doubles and sorts of trophies. Then it's one defeat away from all that changing. So let's not get carried away, people. A great game of football. I enjoyed it. I was very entertained. Chelsea overall, because of how good their midfield is, from Caicedo and um, Reece James, they got the win. So credit to the Blues. Like and subscribe. This is Red God TV.